As Director of International Operations, Tim Curtis supported a client in Somalia for an extended period of time. Tim joins me today to give an insight on Somalia and its risks and challenges. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for having me, Annalyn.
So, there is a perception that Somalia is an incredibly dangerous location. What's your view from the inside?
Well, I've been running projects and tasks in Somalia for nearly 10 years, I guess. The thing to remember is that Somalia is comprised of 3 distinct states: Puntland, Somaliland and Somalia. Each has its own challenges, but the prevailing threats are very, very different. And of course they're changeable. Superimpose the inter-clan rivalries and the presence of the militant group Al-Shabaab, and there is real security risk, but also significant political risk.
Can you talk a little bit about Al-Shabaab?
Yeah, sure. Al-Shabaab's an Al-Qaeda affiliated franchise that follows Al-Qaeda's theological philosophies, which in simple terms are Salafist jihadism, which of course does mean anti-Western. In 2006 and 2007, Al-Shabaab controlled 13 of the 14 suburbs in Mogadishu, but through that time, government and international military forces actually drove Al-Shabaab out of Mogadishu. That overt presence turned covert and it merely smeared the ink. It pushed Al-Shabaab closer into Puntland and drove the overt presence underground to where we are at the moment in Mogadishu, where Al-Shabaab is a true insurgent group. They permeate communities and have reasonable local support. They can move easily in the city of Mogadishu and they can attack with relative impunity. They've been very successful in spreading fear across the Somali people. Targeting them is difficult. They've got true capability, and in fact in the recent past we've seen them conduct a number of attacks across pretty much every major guest house and hotel, including the Central Hotel in Mogadishu, killing around 25 people in February this year. The Sil Hotel, where they killed 5. This week alone, simultaneous attacks on 2 hotels, along with an indirect fire attack on the Mogadishu International Airport. A number of other attacks on Mogadishu International Airport, as well as UN facilities and convoys, and even the Mogadishu Parliament. So the attacks there are bi-weekly, if not more frequently, and very complex in their nature.
Wow, it sounds like it would be a very difficult place to do business. Can you talk a little bit more about what you've been doing for clients in Somalia?
Naturally, I don't want to mention the specific details of clients, but the most recent task was for a client who has a strong affiliation with creating stability through supporting Somali government authorities. And naturally this makes them and their staff high-profile targets for Al-Shabaab. We took a look at their business resilience in country against a range of different risks, and of course security threats is a subset of those risks. We reviewed existing policies, procedures, assessed the strength of their facilities in terms of their resilience, and redesigned and strengthened their arrangements to make sure that their business could remain low profile. And this included a range of recommendations on security and safety improvements at their facilities, but also regarding their procedures and staff behaviour, including how their staff should travel into remote areas, which is where their projects are, to implement and supervise these projects.
Sounds interesting. So what would be the solutions to solve the security problems in Somalia? Where should we start?
I'm glad you asked. With some coincidence, I've just written a highly applicable thought paper that outlines an action plan for dismantling the capabilities of Al-Qaeda and aligned fundamentalist groups. In my opinion, Al-Qaeda operates a franchise model. In fact, in the article I compare the Al-Qaeda franchises with McDonald's franchises. In my opinion, I've always explained Al-Qaeda being very much like McDonald's, and the article explained why in more detail. I've listed a 5-step action plan for dismantling Al-Qaeda franchises, and whilst the article's not specific to Somalia, it is highly applicable. And for those that want to take a read, they can check it out on the ARS website, which is executiverisksolutions.com.au.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Annalyn.